Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing some of the films I've been revisiting or looking at pieces of or what have you before I go to Tucson, Arizona. So I'm taking a road trip from Virginia. I'm going to go through Tennessee, Fort Worth, Texas, different places, New Mexico. And there are some films that I wanted to check out just kind of to get myself, properly spirited. I had never seen, whenever I was Googling films that were filmed there, things that were filmed there, I had never seen Almost Famous, I realized. And although Almost Famous doesn't have a whole lot in Tucson, which I thought it would, I really enjoyed this. This was very popular at the time. It is a rock and roll kind of movie. There's this young teenager who ends up covering a story for the Rolling Stone magazine almost accidentally, and he ends up hanging out with this band, if you haven't ever seen it. I had a DVD that I was able to pick up for actual literal free from Barnes & Noble because I had enough reward points. It just kind of gave it to me. And my thoughts on it, if you haven't seen Almost Famous, I thought Almost Famous was a fun, enjoyable road trip movie that I would probably watch again once. I liked Jason Lee in it from, you may recognize his name from the Kevin Smith universe. I think he's the guy that said, "You're a tracer," or "I'm the tracer" line. You all might know that one better than I do. It's in one of the films from Kevin Smith. But I love Jason Lee. I think he's in Mallrats too. Yeah, I've talked about Mallrats on the channel. The best role in the whole film is, which if you're a Philip Seymour Hoffman fan, it won't surprise you, and you may agree or disagree with me on this, but Philip Seymour Hoffman as a sort of informal advisor to the kid while he's trying to put together his story. The dialogue and his delivery just always on point, kind of snarky, kind of funny, kind of witty, kind of self-deprecating. I love it. And Frances McDormand, of course, from Fargo, Margie Gunderson, just a great hesitant mom who wants to keep track of him throughout his journey. There is a throwaway plot about Zooey Deschanel, who is a long-lost sibling kind of thing. Not long-lost, but she goes away from home. That part and some of the neat tidiness of it in the end, that does take away a little bit for me from how serious the themes can get and how fun we can have with the picture. I don't know. It's kind of tonally, it's a little interesting, but overall, I really like it, and I thought it was a good movie. I thought Kate Hudson was fine in her role, pretty convincing, and I like the other actors as well. So I'm glad I checked out Almost Famous as part of my Tucson road trip, prep, in part because also it's a road trip movie. Interesting little movie. You know what? I'm going to also say here, Detour. Makes me want to rewatch Detour, which has nothing to do with this movie, but it's another road trip movie that I always think about. Someone had actually commented on that on my channel, how much they liked that movie. Oh, before I forget, something I wanted to ask the channel in this sort of free form video. I finally found, this is unrelated to my topic, but I finally found a family edition copy of Super Babies Baby Geniuses 2. The first one I've seen Baby Geniuses, and I am not exaggerating, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's completely terrible. In fact, the best part of that film I remember was there were Christmas lights, I think. Maybe it was another movie that was similar, I don't know, but that was the best part of the movie, was seeing those Christmas lights. I have been trying to see this and see if it's as bad as advertised. This is supposed to be one of the worst movies ever made. If anyone's interested and wants me to do a review on it, I will. John Voight's in it, Kids have subliminal messages, and they might control the world. I don't know. This one looks really bad. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. When I was checking it out, the person at the used media store kind of looked at me, and she asked me if she wanted me to run it through the DVD cleaner, and I don't know if she was trying to destroy the media or not and save me the headache, but I'm considering watching it for a review if you all are interested. Anyway, back on topic. Two other films I've been revisiting because I'm going to go through Tucson. So if you're unfamiliar with the area, from the way I'm going to be going from the Carlsbad Caverns area. I'm going to revisit that park. Beautiful, wonderful park. Love it. I'm going to go back into the cave again, assuming no elevators are broken or anything like that. And we're going to go through the Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Again, that area is so spectacular. And then after that, you can go to Chiricahua National Monument, and then you can kind of dip southwest a little bit and go to Tombstone on your way to the Saguaro National Park in Tucson. So I'm really in that Tombstone mindset. And I love a lot of different versions of the film. I'm a big fan of Frontier Marshal, which I've covered on the channel, and I'll refer to in just a moment. And My Darling Clementine, of course, John Ford's great film with Henry Fonda. But I had not put on Tombstone, the actual 90s version, in a long time. And this is so much fun. Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, we all know, how good Val Kilmer is in it. Robert Mitchum with the narration there. A few things I wanted to talk about because Tombstone's been discussed to death, but things that I noticed that I didn't know if everybody would be aware of. There's a part where Wyatt Earp and friends and Doc Holliday, they're in this show, and the Powers Booth character is in there. And they're all having a good time, and there's like a vaudeville act or something. There's some kind of act going on. And Billy Zane, of all people, from the Titanic, is playing Mr. Fabian, one of the theatrical actors. And the way that whole scene goes down, it's a good homage to Frontier Marshal and Eddie Foy. And if you aren't familiar with Eddie Foy and Frontier Marshal, Eddie Foy, the real Eddie Foy was a real guy. He really existed. His son played that, and it was kind of an interesting piece of history there. I've talked about the Frontier Marshal there, but I love, you know what it feels a little bit like if you play Red Dead Redemption 2 and you get to like watch the goofy shows that are put on in movies. It's very similar to that. Love seeing that again. I didn't know that Harry Carey Jr. is in this. I didn't know that, he's the marshal that gets into it with Powers Booth in the street. And of course, Harry Carey Jr. is a staple of John Ford past, films, Westerns in general. So that was a cool link. Also, I know that in Tombstone, Michael Biehn, who was Johnny Ringo in this, and actually he is, he's what is he, Reese in the Terminator? Terminator is one of my favorite movies ever. In Tombstone, people have met him there before. So I've got my fingers crossed that somehow he'll actually be in Tombstone. And if he is, I'm going to see if he'll sign my copy of Terminator. I don't know. Probably a long shot, but maybe he'll be there. I don't know. I know that in Old Tucson, there's a movie set where a lot of these different films, Westerns, were filmed. Tombstone was filmed there. That version of the Wyatt Earp story. Rio Bravo had pieces filmed there, a lot of different old movies. So I may go by there, although we're going to be going by the John Wayne Museum in Fort Worth. So we'll see if we want to do both of those or not. One other thing that I wanted to talk about here on my journey. One other thing I wanted to talk about here. I had not watched Gunfight at the OK Corral. This is a 4K version with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas. This is another one of the Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday retellings. And I turned it off for now. And I want to hear from you all if you've watched the whole thing and really enjoyed it. I made it 20 or 30 minutes. And as much as I love Burt Lancaster, love The Leopard, great picture, as much as I love Kirk Douglas, I mean, he's a timeless actor. I just couldn't get into this one. I don't know if it was the silly music that sometimes plays, and I don't mean the Frankie Lane OK Corral song. I like that song. I mean, there are like little quippy, quirky, strange sound effects and things that really kind of lessen the drama. The script felt like it held your hand in such a way that it's just explaining the entire story to you in an unconvincing, uninteresting way, and I just didn't feel the drama of it at all. And for a movie that does that much talking, I just couldn't get into it. A lot of the time, I like those movies that are kind of serious and psychological that dedicate to that. I mean, I love 3:10 to Yuma, which the original, which was also filmed in Old Tucson, I think in part or maybe in the Tucson area. I'm not sure. I know it something that I'll check into when I'm there. But I just really could not get into Gunfight at the OK Corral. So what I'm going to do, and what I often do in this situation, and maybe some of you do the same, is I'll put it down and I'll look at it again much later, and see if I like it a lot better. I might have a totally different impression of it. I'll have been in Tombstone and Tucson, and then I can come back and maybe revisit it. Maybe I'll love it. I don't know. But you all will have to let me know if that's something that you like or dislike, because I just could not get into it at all. I was really struggling, and that surprised me. Typically, that kind of thing would have been right up my alley. Those are my thoughts, kind of some things I've been looking at on physical media to prepare for a road trip. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that I'll see not only great national park stuff, hiking, but that I'll be able to find some movie pieces, that I didn't expect. So it'll be great for both parts of my life, my hiking life and my movie part. If you liked the video and found any of this helpful, if you want to do me a favor, click the like button. That'll help grow the channel. Consider subscribing if you haven't done that. I cover lots of Criterion stuff. Right now I'm covering more Western stuff. Physical media, different stuff that I like about movies. And, tell me what you've been watching. Tell me what you think about anything in the video in the comments. We'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.